Welcome everyone. In this video, I'm going to share my initial thoughts running dungeons as a Disc Priest in the Dragonflight Alpha. I'm mostly going to focus on the new talents and how these talents alter the playstyle in dungeons and shore up Discipline's weaknesses. Since the talent trees themselves have been changing constantly with each alpha build, I don't plan to put too much emphasis on any specific build. Understanding how these talents affect Discipline requires a bit of background on the strengths and weaknesses of the baseline spec leading up to Dragonflight. One of Discipline's greatest strengths is its consistent passive damage driven by multi-dotting. This passive damage setup combined with Discipline's active rotation gives it relatively high sustained throughput. However, one of Discipline's biggest weaknesses is its lack of reactive tools to triage heal and catch up when the group gets low on health. Ideally, a Disc Priest player should anticipate these damage bursts and proactively use cooldowns like Barrier, Rapture, or Shadow Fiend, but that's not always possible. Once a Disc Priest falls behind in healing, it can be very difficult to catch back up. Another weakness is its lack of defensives, which sometimes necessitates using Pain Suppression and Barrier as personal defensives. One thing I like about the Dragonflight talent tree is it amplifies the strengths and mitigates many of the weaknesses of Discipline's kit. In terms of its strengths, multi-dotting is made stronger and quicker by removing the conflict between Divine Star and Purge the Wicked and introducing Revel in Purity, which causes penance to spread Purge the Wicked to an additional target. This will dramatically speed up the time it takes to get dots on every mob and makes it much easier to refresh dots as the pull continues. This also helps Discipline's overall damage and healing by maintaining more consistent dot uptime. There are also several things in this tree that help mitigate Discipline's lack of reactive healing tools. The best tool for reactive healing is Twist of Fate, which amps up both healing and damage for 10 seconds after you heal someone below 35% health. This talent previously conflicted with Schism, so being able to take both of these will significantly increase atonement output during heavy damage. Now that Mindbender and Power Word Solace are no longer on the same talent row, you'll have access to more on-demand burst atonement healing. Finally, having access to Mind Games and Light's Wrath adds two more very large damage abilities that can help your atonement burst healing, especially if you combine them with Twist of Fate or Schism. One burst healing wildcard is the rework of Shadow Covenant. For very high healing conditions, this might be a pickup, but historically, Blizzard has struggled to make this a relevant spell, so I'm not yet convinced it will see much play. That being said, they might tune Shadow Covenant incredibly high and make it a must pick. It's simply too soon to tell. I have to say, I do admire the Twilight Corruption talent, which turns Penance into a shadow spell inside of Shadow Covenant. If nothing else, it's a really cool idea. The new talent tree also fixes one of the longest standing frustrations with Disc Priest defensives. We can finally take Masochism for the on-demand 10% damage reduction without losing our movement speed. As small as this change might seem, it's probably the change I'm most excited about. I also really like that they kept Translucent Image. At 10% damage reduction on a 30-second cooldown, it's a great defensive tool without being too overpowered. Angel's Mercy, while not too powerful, is now essentially a free pickup since it's a prerequisite for twins. Overall, I really like where the defensive kit is at, and I think it will significantly help surviving in high keys. With all these talent changes, the gameplay in dungeons generally felt very smooth, despite only having 7% haste. Having access to Twilight Empowerment makes Shadow Word Death feel much more impactful as a high damage global that also heals through Atonement. Mind Games is obviously not new, but was typically not taken in Shadowlands dungeons in favor of Kyrion's Boon. Having access to it in the class tree is a great addition to help with burst healing. Revel in Purity also makes spreading dots feel much better, and Wicked Star with its dot component also feels very impactful when you line it up to hit the entire pack. Shadowflame Prism felt a bit clunky to me, but I think that might just be because of the low stat budget in the current build. Trying to fit in all the required globals for Shadowflame Prism with only 7% haste felt awful, especially when trying to meet a high HPS check. I expect this will change once we get more haste. Overall, I feel like I have more tools at my disposal to deal with high incoming group damage. Although I generally like the state of Discipline right now, there are a few things I'd like to see changed. First, I don't like how player power talents directly compete with utility spells. I don't think choosing between more smite damage and Shackle Undead is a meaningful choice. We saw how these types of decisions played out in Shadowlands, where every utility legendary got completely ignored. While I'd really like to see core utility spells be baseline, if they have to be inside the talent trees, I'd like to see them as prerequisites for other talents. I think a more meaningful choice would be having to choose between a leaf node that increases your smite damage or one that increases your Purge the Wicked damage. Maybe the Smite talent damage does more damage in Atonement healing single target, but the Purge the Wicked talent does more in AoE situations. Selecting talents based on different damage or healing patterns feels more impactful than just not being able to CC a mob in a dungeon. Second, not having Mindseer feels really bad. I'm not really sure why they removed it, but if you want any sort of AoE filler, you have to invest 4 points to get Holy Nova, which has historically not been the best spell. I really do like the direction they've gone with Wicked Star and Shadowflame Prism, but having Mindseer as an option would be a welcome addition to the AoE kit. And finally, I really wish they'd clean up the interaction between spells and talents. Maybe this is just an issue with the early builds that they plan to fix, but talents like Shadow Mend and Purge the Wicked don't replace Flash Heal and Shadow Word Pain. You can currently cast Purge the Wicked and Shadow Word Pain on the same target. It's just awkward and confusing. What's even more confusing is Holy Priest gets Shadow Mend and Flash Heal. Shadow Mend applies Masochism, but Flash Heal is the only spell to affect Surge of Light, so you're in this weird spot where you're Flash Healing your teammates but Shadow Mending yourself. That being said, I'm really enjoying playing Discipline in the Dragonflight Alpha and believe it has great potential to be a more competitive option in Mythic Plus. Of course, the meta will always be defined after many iterations of numbers tuning, so it's way too early to predict that, but the current talents fix many of Discipline's weaknesses while doubling down on its strengths. If nothing else, many of the new abilities and interactions feel good to press and seem to work better with the overall kit. If you've enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to my channel. I plan to do many more Dragonflight videos while also continuing to put out content on Shadowlands Keep Pushing. If you have any questions or want to share your builds, please don't hesitate to post in the comments section below, in my Discord, or while I'm streaming live here on YouTube or over on Twitch. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.